Coming up, we find out what a board of directors actually does. I'm Jay Adelson, and I'm the founder and chairman of Revision 3. I've built a number of companies. I've been hired as a CEO, and I've even been fired as one. For example, Equinix is a company I took public in 2000, and now has a market cap of over $4 billion. In 2008, I was incredibly honored to have been selected as one of Time Magazine's most influential people in the world. My goal is to pass on some of this knowledge to you, the budding entrepreneurs, and hopefully leave you with some words of wisdom. This episode of AskJay is brought to you by Netflix. Today's question comes from Kyle, who asks, what is a board of directors and what do they do? Which is an awesome question. What do they do anyway? I've asked that question many times. You know, it's hard to believe that there's this, you founded a company, you're the entrepreneur, you're the one who came up with the idea, you've even sometimes built the company, and suddenly there's this new group of people that you have to answer to? Who are these people and how did they get this role? A friend of mine, Joe Stump, gave a presentation about entrepreneurship, and I love this one slide he put up that said, you can be fired from your own company. And the audience was in complete shock over this. It's hard to imagine that a scenario could exist where you founded your own thing, built your own thing, and then you end up actually losing your job from your own company. But it happens, it does happen. Hopefully not too often, but it does happen. And I guess it's one of the ways that investors ensure that the company is successful. So let's talk about that for a minute, this board of directors. So the board of directors are obviously people who represent the interests of the shareholders in the oversight of the company. So once you take their money, right, they're saying, look, I'm giving you this big check. I really want, to make sure this business is successful. We're going to work together to make this successful. But here's the way I'm going to do it. I'm not going to come to your offices every day and ask you, what you've done this morning. Once a month, once every couple months, once a quarter, I'm going to show up and you're going to present to me an update of what's up. At which point, I'm going to provide you advice, my thoughts, maybe experience I have from other investments I've made or other portfolio companies. There are independent board members, people who are brought in as subject matter experts who can help, and they provide their advice at this point. And then it's the CEO's job to take that advice, take it or leave it, and then bring that back into the management of the company. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the board also has certain legal rights. They're the group of people that approve stock grants, for example, for your employees. It's a group of people that might make or break an acquisition. It's the group of people who basically decide these big decisions that relate to the financial structure and the strategic direction the company is going over the long term. Now, let's say you're building a product and your board doesn't like the way you're building the product, or some decision you've made, a hire or execution, whatever it is, the board doesn't like it. What can they do about it? Well, in general, the board really only has one thing they can do, and that is to pull this lever and the trap door opens and the CEO is gone. I mean, that's about it. And so the reason you say okay to allow their advice is because, well, in the end, they do have that responsibility. They have the ability to fire you. So, look, this has happened in a number of companies that I work for where I am, part of the management team or the CEO, and the board disagrees with me on the direction the company needs to go. Or maybe they're just pissed because I did something that they don't like, said something in the, whatever. That's part of their job, to interact with you honestly. And sometimes it can get pretty heated. And, there have been times when I thought that I would lose my job because I took a position that they disagreed with. This is something that I think every entrepreneur is going to deal with eventually as they grow. Well, in any case, the board of directors, very important group. I like to think of it as an asset. When you have a really good board, they're there to basically help you do your job. They're there to be your advocate, because after all, the CEO is the CEO role, very lonely position. You don't have a boss that you can go to every day and ask for help. That's really what the board is there to help you do. And that's when you have a healthy board, that's the relationship that it should, that's the relationship that you should build with them. In any case, in a minute, we are going to give you some tips and tricks on how to manage that board of directors. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor. Thanks to Netflix for sponsoring this show. Netflix streams TV shows and movies directly to your home, saving you time, money, and hassle. As a Netflix Unlimited member, you can instantly watch TV episodes and movies streaming directly to your PC, Mac, or right to your TV with your Xbox 360, PS3, or Nintendo Wii. Watch as many movies as you want, anytime you want. Cancel anytime. Get your free trial membership. Go to www.netflix.com/AskJay and sign up now. Be sure to use this URL so they know we sent you. So for today's homework assignment, how to manage that board of directors. The board of directors is a group of individuals. You obviously have to understand all their personalities, and you have to have obviously interviewed them, because at some point you decided to take one person's money over another person's money, or brought on an independent board member. So assuming you have all that knowledge, what do you do to make sure that the relationship is great? Well, first of all, communicate a lot. Now, I do not mean that you have to talk to your board members once a week or every day. What I mean is that when there are issues, when there are things going on, you need to bring them up to speed. Do not wait for the board meeting. That is probably one of the best pieces of advice I can give you. The second thing is be prepared. If you're showing up at the board meeting and you don't have the answers to a question, a financial question, a question about product, then you haven't done your homework and you don't have the right resources to do your job. And the board really needs to be confident in you. So the more prepared you can be for a board meeting, the better. So what does that mean? Make sure that you anticipate the sorts of questions they may have. And that might mean bringing your management team in with you. That might mean going through each manager's division and going through this process before the board meeting and going through this sort of question and answer session. What I like to do, for example, right now at SimpleGeo, is I ask my executive team to present to me on a regular basis an update on where they are with the business. If I'm doing that well, then preparing for the board meeting is merely taking the most recent update and incorporating it into the presentation for the board. And finally, as it relates to a board, remember, they're in this battle with you. If you approach it from the standpoint that these guys are on your team, and you remember to interact with them, they're there to help you, I think you'll find that over the long term, the relationship stays much stronger, and you don't run into these adversarial conditions. Be aware of your own limitations. You don't have to be right every single time, and be willing to take input from these people who have done it many, many times before. That's it for today's show. Please send us your questions to AskJay@revision3.com, Twitter @Jay Adelson, or your video response on YouTube. We'd love to see it. Maybe put it on the show. Send us your wacky ideas, your wacky questions. We love seeing it. We'll definitely include it. Our fridge here is empty, and I've heard that maybe I'm more likely to answer a question if it comes with beer. Just a thought, just a crazy idea. Anyway, that's it for today's show. Thanks, and until next time.